Sam's starting in Arizona and Marty's mad about California. We're happy for them, but grateful we don't have with AJ what Kansas does with Hunter. Commits are starting to fall in place. You're listening to Can't Read, Can't Write.
Truly,
welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Can't Read, Can't Write, the podcast that proves Spartans can talk. I'm Mike Jones, joined as always by the guy who puts the soup in supine, Kevin Greck, who you can't see, and the guy who no longer has audio supremacy, Alex Plum. But Plum, you do for this week.
For this week and this week only, because our friend Kevin Greck is lying on a seedy hotel bed somewhere near Joseph Smith's old stomping grounds. And
Jesus is.
And Jesus, right.
They came from Illinois.
Well, so did Jesus or something.
What's the full story? Where did
That's what Sufjan Stevens Chicago's about?
Jesus. It's like in rural Pennsylvania or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. We just lost our Mormon audience. It's over.
Yep. Sorry.
With this?
Miss you. Yeah. Well, miss you guys. Or gals, or whomevers.
Well, for those of you who haven't been led astray, we do want to thank you, of course, for listening, and ask the small favor, if you could please share this pod with Spartans in your life. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get podcasts. You can also watch us on YouTube. Comment if you're feeling so inclined. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_pod. And, of course, if you want to participate in the show, you can email us at can'tread.can'twrite1855@gmail.com. Can someone do the structure of the show? I'm realizing as I plugged the email address that I forgot a certain someone's questions.
Uh-oh, not certain someone. It's you, listener. It's you. This podcast always starts behind the green wall, where football always leads. We've got a commitment to celebrate this week. How many weeks? We should do an over-under on how many weeks before we have more than 2 commitments to celebrate on this podcast. We've got a long-ass list of people who've left and then come back in. Or gone on the draft. We'll talk Michigan State basketball because that's fun. And even better news from women's shooty hoops. We might talk a little tennis. Then we'll head off Grand River, where we'll talk about college sports across the NCAA continuum, Big Ten and beyond, before we head to the place where you love it, which is taking your Twitter questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Alex. All right, so yes, we got a lot to chat about this week. So we'll head behind the green wall and start with our latest commit, Charles White, 3-star linebacker from Orchard Lake St. Mary's, sorry. Number 10 prospect in the state of Michigan and the 67th ranked linebacker in the country. Does someone have his offer sheet open?
Oh, I do. You want the peer group? It's got
your
Indianas, it's got your Kansases, your Nebraskas, your Penn States, your Pitts, your Purdue's, your Rutgers, your West Virginias, your Eastern. Oh, not an Eastern Michigan offer. I'm so sorry. There was almost poor reporting on my part. But a Kent State and Toledo Rockets offer. So, in terms of the peer group, could be worse, could be better, could be worse. So, anyone that Bowling Green wants, I guess we're happy to take at this point, with commitment number 2. Yeah. So, Charles White, maybe someday you'll see him play. Statistically, probably not, as we'll discuss later.
My God.
Honestly, episode title, statistically, probably not.
Probably not. Better than what we've currently got. Let's talk about all these guys that are out. Let's
talk about where those statistics come from.
This is a full roster of.
All right, let's do this. I think a constructive way to have the conversation is we'll go through the list, and then maybe we can break them into buckets of different kinds of transfers. Okay. You're a piece of shit transfer, or you're maybe not good at football and looking to play more football, which I don't begrudge anyone for wanting to play football.
That's fair.
Transfer, right?
Right.
So we'll update the matrix of categories of folks afterwards. But So first up, Derek Harmon, defensive tackle, rumored to be by name, image, and likeness standards, the highest or one of the highest paid defensive tackles in the Big Ten, has left us for the transfer portal.
Yes, the rumors were a Big Ten team that does not have its money right is about to get fleeced by the SEC or Miami, which is interesting because by all accounts, MSU had its money right, and it's just not happening anyway. So it's silly season out there in the world, and this one's in the what are you going to do? If by all accounts, MSU already did right by Derek Harmon, it wasn't enough. Truly, what are you going to do?
Fuck off.
And if you're planning on having a season that you hope to be competitive, but you're not competing for things, we'll say, big capital T things, right? Then why would you expend more payroll dollars on somebody that isn't going to net you a championship?
Yeah, as we go through this, I guess the one thing that we can say is this team is in floor raising mode, right? We've said that time and again. And the question is, will the team net out with a higher floor with replacements of these guys generally from the portal? And I guess if money is truly fungible in NIL and a bunch of it just freed up by having two starting defensive tackles or edge and DT in the portal, then I guess maybe this works out for MSU in the general longer term.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
I guess for me, the thing that is the sort of it sticks in my craw. This is the second time Derek Harmon's gone into the portal. Almost Simeon Barrow.
Yeah, you're right. Second time.
I mean, and it's like, my guy, at this time, you got to stay in there and just stay in the purgatory that comes with it. You can't come back to our program. First time. And
supposedly just canceled his Miami visit, which is interesting.
So someone's backed up the brakes drop. And good for him, fine, but get the fuck out. I don't know. I guess.
Or Miami said, "LOL, psych."
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe these guys are just getting shafted. Like, because if he pulls his name out of the portal again, it's like, dude, you just look fucking pathetic. And do they not care how they look?
We've got one of those. I think he should be the last one that we mentioned, so that he can be the first one that we mentioned about coming in from the portal.
It's on the outline, buddy. Just structured that way.
Yeah,
already there.
Next up, Andrew DePape, 4-star edge rusher, class of 23. Yeah, 23. Yeah. Maybe second highest ranked prospect from that class. And I'm going to just go ahead and mention the next one. By Job, also 4-star edge rusher, the highest ranked prospect from the 24 class. 23 class. Both have entered the portal. By Job was seeing reps. DePape was not seeing reps, but Job was still far on the depth chart and had not gotten his body to a Big Ten level.
Yeah, these are guys that were going to be contributing in the future, but we're probably not going to contribute meaningfully this year. So, I mean, if this is going to hurt you, it doesn't hurt you this year. It hurts you next season or the season after that.
I think you put these guys in the category of on this matrix we're making up. I put Derek in the fuck off, get out by category, like, and then these two guys I put in the Tom Izzo is right Memorial Award category, because this is you just didn't have if you just worked and stuck around, almost certainly this would work out for you, but you faced some adversity. You were hyped up through high school, 4 stars, and with all the Mel Tucker pizzazz that came along with your recruitment, and you haven't seen the field yet. So,
speaking of kind of that, Jack Nickel gone. He was a Tucker recruit that Tucker had flipped from Notre Dame. Malcolm
3-star,
Jones,
almost 4.
yeah, on that cusp. Malcolm Jones actually got some time on the field, defensive back. Gone.
Yeah, quantity of DB is really actually hitting the concerning levels.
It's an issue. Drew Wilson, they're on the left side. Long snapper. Pardon me. My bad. So don't even know who that dude is. Jalen Berger got passed by a true freshman. So can't be surprised there. Davion Prim, remember him? Remember Prim? What about
he
Prim?
Was our April Heisman.
Yeah, that's
April talked him up.
April in the transfer portal. Andrew Shafar. Bye, bud. Bye, bud.
Hey, he had the most experience of anybody on the roster.
Yep. Now the quarterback room is entirely turned over. Wonderful.
Shambles.
Yep. For him.
And that leaves one name on here. Antonio Gates Jr. Now, we talked about him last week. Mm-hmm. And it would seem that Mr. Gates did not get what he was looking for in the portal in his comeback hat in hand to MSU.
Mm-hmm. Hello. Welcome back.
Does this put him in the truest of true Spartans?
No.
Yeah, Plum, what do we do with
and
this?
Came back?
No. No, if you're in the program and you leave the program for any reason, coming back is the least bad thing you can do. But it's barely redemptive. No. This rate's just higher than full on leaving. But that's about it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know what to say.
Well,
I don't make the rules.
Either way, it was certainly depth that was necessary at receiver. Gates has some size that, other than Gates, it's Nick Marsh who possesses size, and so you'd like someone other than a true freshman to be able to do that. And it sounds like, from what we've heard, that Gates hit the portal and not many people came knocking. So,
yeah, it's the old Connor Hayward Award. He should get that. He should get that for the year.
Yeah, that sounds right.
It comes with flirtations over Instagram with Plum. That's the benefit.
It really is, and it should be too.
So that's the sad news. Should we get to the part of the portal that people like?
Yay, portal!
I'm having fun.
Brandon Lane from Stephen F. Austin, defensive tackle, 44 tackles last year, is joining the Spartans. Is a guy. Will contribute tackles to MSU.
Good.
I guess.
Through.
He's mocked into some day 3 NFL drafts for whatever that's worth.
Could be our only guy that gets drafted next year. Fantastic.
That could be a thing that we need more NFL dudes on the roster. Do we have any?
No. Truly, who knows at this point? And who has any idea what this roster looks like?
If you had to guess, I guess that's my point, is that there's no one that you're looking at and you're like, he's going to get drafted next year.
There's no one that leaps off the page at me right now.
Yeah.
Because even the guys that just left for the portal on the defensive side,
Derek Harmon.
Was Harmon really getting big NFL?
He was day 3, but round 4 projections. Simeon Barrow also.
Okay. Anyway, K'Ron Lynch-Adams, running back, UMass, is coming into the program. They had basically pushed Jalen Berger out the door and were very obviously looking for a replacement there, even while he was still on the team.
Yeah.
So he comes in with 1,100 yards, 12 TDs last season. So productive over at UMass, with the asterisk that comes with saying productive over at UMass. So there we go.
Very similar build, in case anyone's curious, to Nate Carter. So similar running styles, and I think we've held out hope that Nate Carter could be a productive Big Ten back. That his issues are more offensive line oriented than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, we spoke about the draft. It is worth shouting out Nick Samak.
Yeah, that was heartwarming.
Drafted in the 7th round to the Ravens. If for some reason you've not seen the video circulating online of him getting the call, I think you have to be real cold inside to not feel something for that dude, who clearly was realizing a lifelong dream, right? And I give Harbaugh credit for being the more normal of the two Harbaughs by worlds.
Incalculable margin.
Well, and it was nice how he framed that. I thought it was a clever framing. You're gonna be happy to, sure, you'll be happy to play for a Harbaugh, but his emotion was just so authentic, you know, and you just see how important it is for these guys. And they said nice things about him and his family's all around him. I mean, what a special day. He'll live with that forever. I just, that was a wonderful thing to see filmed. So that warmed my heart.
And Plum would know because Jones, it reminds me of when we called him to tell him that we'd like him to be a permanent listener guest. That was the vibe that I got when I saw that video. I was like, oh God.
I did. I had my
now
whole
I've
family.
seen this twice.
Well, and they
surrounded by everyone.
And they were exhausted because I kept, for like a year, I would invite my family up every Sunday and say,
just waiting,
waiting
for that call.
Today's the day. And it was,
and every day it felt like that year where Brian Hoyer was in front of camera for the entire draft and the call just never came.
Yep.
Until one day it did. Until one day.
My God.
Obviously we're thrilled for Nick Samak, and this makes it year 3 that MSU has clawing its way back up on a draft streak. Some other things to chat about. We're not going to talk about Keon because that comes up a lot in the Twitter questions. Rocky Lombardi, though, is someone that we can put in the category of transfers that ran out of town, wasn't going to get playing time. So if Rocky Lombardi wants to consider himself a Spartan, by all means, Rocky Lombardi is a Spartan.
Yeah.
And we're thrilled to see him in the get drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals. I did want to chat, though.
Drafted or signed?
Sorry, yes, I'm sorry, not drafted. Signed with the Bengals. Did want to chat, though, Jonathan Smith had 3 guys from Oregon State go in the draft. I believe 2 in the 2nd round. And so I think we were being a little glib about it, but like the conversation about what guys on the roster are going to the NFL, I think is a pretty important conversation.
Yeah.
Oregon State was a top 25 team, had a really competitive season, put 3 guys in the draft, right? Like you need dudes on the roster who are going to the NFL if you want to have a meaningfully competitive. And you can run a developmental program and still do that,
right?
But I think as we expectation set around what Jonathan Smith is or what he can contribute or how quickly he can grow a program, at the end of the day, you got to have some talent on your team, and that takes time. So anyway, but he can get it and he can develop it. That we do know. Like, the draft was proof positive of that.
Indeed. Should we talk about more portal stuff in basketball?
Yeah, this Greg.
What?
We have a excellent proposed title up here. Very seriously considering it, but
also here it is, the true changing of the Hoggard Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. It is official. Mr. Hoggard has taken his name, image, and likeness apparel from House of Souls, packaged it up, and disappeared into the transfer portal. So the AJ Hoggard era here at Michigan State University is now officially over. I will remember you. Will you remember me?
Dude,
Can I be an ass for a second?
No.
And
Go for it.
I'm fucking relieved. I saw that and I felt like a weight had been lifted off of me.
I mean, he's gonna get picked up somewhere. He's gonna find somewhere to go.
Yeah. No, I'm not
In
worried
the
about
same way-
him. I'm worried about Tom being like,
It-
okay, AJ, one more time.
Yeah, let's run it back.
Run it back.
It's time for this program to move on. It is
truly.
time for the leaf to turn the page. I don't even care about metaphors getting mixed anymore.
The leaf to turn the page.
Yes. Tearing the leaf out of the new page, which is turned. It's over. And this program can finally move on and into the next era. Fiddler era. You can hear the fiddle over the hills.
Fears to
and
Fiddler. Feels right.
It plays a tune that I don't have a music reference for center or 5 in its vacancy, but that's the tune that we're hearing. So this is maybe one of our all-time greatest segments.
No, keep going. Just keep
Don't
going.
start. Yeah, and sing some more while you're at it.
I can't. Okay, here's where all this comes from.
Devil
I
goes
can't
down
get
to
that-
Georgia.
I can't get that excited about Frankie Fiddler because we basically knew about this last week, and because he's coming up from the Horizon League. I can't get too excited about AJ leaving because it's the unknown now. I can't get too excited about Madi landing at Cal because truly I don't expect to ever hear anything from him ever again in my life. The problem is there's still a big vacant hole at the 5 spot on this team, and now whose job it is to cover it are starting to say that MSU is done in the portal and that issue will not be filled. And I just can't get excited or think about anything else other than that.
Well, let's do that then, because I think we said postseason after Tom Izzo talked in the episode after we lost the tournament game. I believe I said that if Tom Izzo doesn't get a 5, I will never trust him again.
Yeah.
The thing is, it may well work out.
Yeah.
And to be clear, when I said that, I think I've been in a minority on I'm optimistic that Cooper could turn into a good basketball player, and I'm optimistic that Jackson Kohler can turn into a good basketball player at the Big Ten level. But that doesn't mean, Tom, you don't buy insurance. I don't know how you can look at what happened last year and the year before and run this shit back again. I don't know how you can look at last year where Jackson Kohler couldn't play because his foot fell off and say, no, I'll run it back with 2. What are you doing, Tom?
Yeah.
This is a colossal level of stupid.
Especially in an era where these guys are getting paid now. This is not like you do your time, you deserve it. I got to give my guy a shot. He's really given his all to the program.
Right.
He's put in his time. He's earned it. These are professional basketball players now. And if Tom, I understand that this is sensitive, that there's a roster to manage for you. I understand that you talk to these guys every day. I understand you got to talk to their parents. I understand all that stuff. But here's the fact of the matter. This team could have achieved much more with a competent center this season. And you are actually down a body in that department now. So
he doesn't even have a walk-on.
I don't understand this move. I don't know. A month ago, my mom listened to the podcast and she was like, I can't believe that you said those things about Tom Izzo. You used to love Tom Izzo. And I was like, I can criticize someone and still
love
really
him.
like him,
Yeah.
and still want him to be my basketball coach, and still like think he's the right guy for the job. But
what do you think I do about you, Mom?
Yeah, yeah. Universal praise, Karen. By the way, universal.
Oh,
universal.
You used to love your mother, Kevin. You used to just love her so much.
But guys, we have been consistent in our criticism of Tom Izzo in its roster management year in and year out, whether it's deciding not to use 2 scholarships or deciding not to take a transfer or deciding not to make a move with someone that's clearly not working out. Like, I don't know if it's loyalty. I don't know if it's bringing in a really old guy mentality to a sport that's fully changed.
It
I don't
can't be that, Greg, because we had that criticism before the portal. When he left roster spots open, we had that, and the portal didn't exist in its iteration.
Right.
It
wasn't the same portal that it is today.
And I hate that it could work out for Tom, because he's still wrong.
Could?
Yeah, he's still wrong.
You're willing to cut your nose off to spite your face on this?
No, he needed to get a 5. There's no doubt about it. He doesn't have anything else. It was one fucking job, and there were I don't know if there was 100 of them, but there could have been 100 of them in there. Prove there wasn't. He had one fucking job. This is a program that people would kill to play for. It's not like he doesn't have the money. I don't understand it. It's obstinance. It feels like obstinance. That's the frustration. It feels like obstinance. Like an angry unwillingness to just get with the program.
Yeah.
Well, and Plum, there's this thought, right, that if you bring someone in, Kohler or Cooper are going to leave. But doesn't that go to what?
Goodbye.
Doesn't that go to what you've talked about as it relates to culture? That there seems to have been something pervading Izzo's program over the last, we'll call it 4 years, but it started with the 2018 class that's soft, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you're so afraid that someone's going to come in, particularly at a position that's rarely capable of playing 30 plus minutes. Like, I don't get that fear. And that tells me there's a culture issue there, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what to do with it.
Ski, you're going to hound us for this. We don't know everything about NIL at MSU, but from what we've been told, it seems like it's one of the better positioned programs in college basketball. And it is not something that we seem to be taking advantage of. We seem to be getting the same dudes we were going to get otherwise, and we seem to be sitting on roster spots the way that we would otherwise. It seems like the dude's just getting a little scratch now. Not a little, lot of scratch. Seems like there's a pretty fair amount of scratch going around. So I don't understand this. We'll see how it goes, but it seems like Tom's setting himself up to waste another of his years, his dwindling years.
Yeah.
Oh, great point also. When's this dude going to realize he doesn't have time left? Should we talk about somebody who has been getting busy in the portal, though?
Let's do it.
Robin Freilich.
We love her. We love Robin.
Bringing in 3 interesting prospects. Emma, I'm very sorry.
I made that one up.
Shumate? Who knows?
Shumate.
Emma's
Shumate.
redshirt sophomore from Ohio State. She's a combo 4, played mostly the 4, was a bench player at Ohio State. And for whatever it's worth, in case folks are like, what, a bench player? Don't get terribly excited. Ohio State was really good this past year. And you know, not exclusively, but oftentimes right now with women's hoops, it is more developmental in comparison to the men's game.
Agreed.
But she brings a lot of length, 6'1". So you like to see that, which for a team that really struggled with length last year because of an irrational number of injuries. So Emma, you're a Spartan. Glad to have you. Next up, Jaden Simmons, point guard from Arizona State University. She will be a grad student. 17th all-time in scoring at Arizona State, 9.5 points per game last year, 57 steals. Kind of a downhill player. Oh, I forgot, as it relates to Emma, sorry, going back real quick, she shoots 42% from three.
Good. Check it out.
So that's on 6 for 10 of shooting from three. So.
Okay, don't check it up. I take back what I said.
Never mind.
Which tells me maybe the year before she went 1 for 2. I don't know. But anyway, Jaden, back to Jaden Simmons. 9.5 points per game, 57 steals. I had the assist numbers in front of me. I think it's 104 last year, but the assist to turnover ratio is not great. It was like 104 to 62. Does that sound right? Someone back me up on this?
Like 1.5. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
it's fine.
Shoots 33% from three, but so she's more of a downhill player getting to the rim. So interesting pickup. And we, after Didi left, this sort of answers our point guard problems. And then last up, Nyla Hampton, 9 points per game, 5 assist points per game, 3.3 steals per game from Ball State. She's a 3-time All-MAC defensive team honoree. I don't know. All these prospects have something about them that, not prospects, commits that makes them intriguing as additions to the team.
Yeah, and I would expect Robin Fralick that, coming from the MAC to kind of know what to expect from Nyla, making the change. I mean, schemed against her, presumably, multiple times. So, making moves. It can happen in the basketball building, as it turns out. Who knew? Speaking of making moves, the tennis team, I don't know if you guys saw this, but they got the accolades this week, huh?
Yeah. I didn't list them all here, but yeah.
It was too much typing. Can't read, can't write, can't type.
Can't
There's
type,
too much.
too many things.
But I think all Big Ten, best player in the Big Ten, best freshman in the Big Ten. Like
Mrs. Scandalaris has got to be happy with her program that she's building over there.
Scandalized. Scandalized.
Was it Mrs. Scandalaris or was it Mrs. What's her name?
It's the other one, the less good one.
The West Michigan one.
It's gonna bug me. I can't remember their name. The one who died from COVID.
Yep, the COVID one. All caps emails to Luanna K. Simon one.
Oh boy!
Wow. We could basically just draw a picture all the way around this name. My word.
No, let's keep taking a stabs at it.
Better not. All right.
Mom, you've got to know this. He was an ambassador
to Italy.
Hoekstra was to the Netherlands.
Nope.
Peter Secchia.
Secchia.
Wait, maybe it was Scandalaris now. It doesn't matter. Who cares? All right. Let's do briefly. I'm gonna say some things about our favorite restaurant.
What are you gonna say, Michael? What is there to say?
Say
about
a couple
Mama's
things.
Mama's Mercantile and Eatery has. Well, first of all, food's great, drinks are great. You should go there anytime.
Do it now.
Mention can't read, can't write.
10%
right off
now.
Your bill.
Drive there right now. Go right now.
You probably can get there before they close. But if you're going for ticketed events, the 10% off does not account. But there are 2 events coming up. There's the Derby Day at Mama's, which is May 4th. The Kentucky Derby is coming up, 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. There are going to be awesome things. There's going to be a hat contest. You can get a Derby dog, which is Nathan's hot dog with homemade pimento cheese. a Kentucky hot brown, which I'm not going to explain because that sounds like a different kind of adventure. Derby pie, mint juleps, sounds great. Fanciest hat gets $25 and a gift card to Mama's Mercantile and Eatery. And then, if you're feeling like you want to go south of the border, we have a Cinco de Mayo on Sunday, May 5th at Mama's Mercantile and Eatery. There's going to be, this legit sounds great. Brunch, chorizo, breakfast burritos, chilaquiles verde. For lunch and dinner, there's a pork chile verde, tacos Americanas, fried avocado tacos, and hot Mexican chocolate cake. Get yourself over to Mama's Mercantile and Eatery. ASAP. Did I do it?
You nailed it. And we happen to know that some of the listening audience will be making it to the event this week. So we appreciate that. Great work. Great work, everyone. Great work.
Can't reach it right for 10% off your bill. All right, let's also talk about some of our favorite liquors. Alex, did I see what I think I saw?
The mango shata. This
Tell
is
me.
a mango jalapeno tequila, and it's got the bite of the tequila, and it's got the spice of the jalapeno, but the sweetness of the mango. You could drink this like it's a margarita, and that would be a mistake. Because this is just straight 52 proof liquor. And I got to be careful because I could just gulp, gulp, gulp this thing right down.
You're going to have the bite of the jalapeno
I'm going to
after
have
that.
the bite of the jalapeno in the morning. This is delicious, though. And I can't recommend it more highly enough. It's
I might have to go grab mine here in a second.
You know who would like this? I'm not going to say it. Anyone. Any adult.
Any person.
Anyone over 21
of legal drinking age
would like it.
I've talked about this before. Comos, it is a wonderful, truly wonderful tequila, añejo. Fantastic. Mine was bottled in 2001.
Wow.
What? Yeah. This is a very nice tequila. If you're looking to do a little treat yourself action, cannot co-sign enough on this. This is 100% agave, like none of the BS that's in a lot of your seemingly top shelf tequilas. Like this is the real deal. Cannot say enough about this.
So next time you're in one of the Great Lakes states, fine dining and drinking establishments, point right at the top shelf and say, "I'll have that, please." Mike Jones sent me.
I think I'm gonna have to join Plum on the. I didn't know Plum had the mango shata. I might have to go get some and just join him in a mango shata drink off. Are you
look at him? You look at him. Eye contact.
All right.
Use your power on him.
Challenge accepted.
Plum. I'm going to delay topic 1.
Okay.
Because I'm going to let you finish up whatever that is over there. And first, we'll start with more than 3,600 players from FBS in the transfer portal.
Which is like 20% of college football, by the way. Which is bananas. Like, what happened to the sport that we love, Alexander? Does the whole world have portal fatigue at this point? Can we all just join together?
There are no rules, and why do we care? Why do we fight this fight? Why do we wage this battle? I don't know. I mean, that's 20% actually seems small. I thought it would be higher than that. 3,600 people is an insane number of people.
It's crazy. And then you think the number of those that are going to fall through the cracks, the number of guys that we've had disappear into the portal that just kind of never come out again. Player empowerment. Empowerment.
I know,
Alex.
and that's what I think. It's so tough. It's so tough. Tuition and housing and graduate degrees, for a lot of the guys were enough for decades and decades. Or maybe they weren't enough. I don't know. Maybe that's the point. Maybe they weren't enough. Maybe all of that was not enough. But this is this.
We at least-
this. I mean, 20% of FBS players in the portal is the truth to the lie that any of this is about school spirit or about identity with a team.
And maybe we were allowed ourselves to be naive about that before.
No, I don't think so. I mean,
maybe...
I think it really was that. I mean, I think for a very long time it was that. And I think you know that because when you go to games and you see those guys that played in the 80s and the 90s and the 70s with their Letterman jackets and their like tears at alma mater, I mean, I think it did mean something. I think it was.
Or even the semi-recent dudes from the D'Antonio era on Twitter after all of the guys leaving.
Yeah.
Lawrence Thomas and Mark Dell exchanged some messages to that effect. And Lawrence Thomas is a guy for whom you might say it didn't fully work out to what you were expecting out of college for him. So even him being like, he in today's college football would be a prime transfer candidate. So, everyone on YouTube seeing what's happening now. It's a drink off. It's a drink off. Here's the thing though, with this player empowerment thing. Yes, everyone should be allowed to do their own thing. But remember what we saw with Amani Bates. Amani Bates and his camp created this system around him. I said that to get Plum's attention specifically.
It's bullying.
It created this system around him, created a school around him, coddled him, and ultimately, to one degree or another, definitely stunted his growth as a player.
Right.
And the rest of these guys all have some kind of network around them that are
doing the same
pushing
thing.
them in various directions.
Yep.
So when we say player empowerment, yes, that's true, but I think that's also naive.
It's a lot of mouths to feed. I mean, you hear this, and you heard this from guys for a long time. I mean, it was a lot of the pressure behind recruiting scandals and family members getting cars or jobs or, because people felt like, and in fact, and I think we talked about this when I was a huge advocate for NIL. That these young people are often coming from communities that have disproportionately not been allowed to accrue wealth, redlining, structural racism, and policies and practices that have kept particularly Black communities in this country poor. And so NIL is a way of fairly redistributing wealth to individuals whose name, image, and likeness is what's generating wealth for a bunch of people who primarily look like us. Now, I think we can hold on to that on the one hand and say that the way that this has happened, the way that NIL has rolled out, which is just fucking completely Wild West, without any structure, without any consistency, has not done the sport any favors. And I hope it's done favors to the guys who have money now, because they're the ones who deserve it. It's their bodies that are breaking, and it's their CTE that's going to, prematurely end their lives. Some of them, a not statistically significantly small number, I should say. So I just still think it's sad. I still think it's sad what it means for the identity of it, because it leaves it to us. Now we're the ones who are foisting our memories and our, whatever that is, the word I'm looking for, the nostalgia, onto guys for whom it means fucking nothing.
Is it worth separating NIL from the transfer portal? They seem so linked.
I don't think you can.
They seem like they happen at the same time.
You don't see 3,600 players in the portal if there isn't an incentive to do that. The incentive is NIL. It's both the incentive and it's the means. I mean, it is what's enabled the rule changes to allow just this fucking revolving door. It doesn't happen without NIL.
Because the beginning of COVID is when the portal really kicked off, and we saw a lot of activity there, but not to this extent. And then NIL came in, and the collectives kicked off, and
Well, and I think when we were advocating for NIL, I remember talking about the idea that let's talk about a YouTube channel, right? Your average student could monetize the things that they've learned, right? Their passions, their hobbies.
Yeah.
And yet a football player couldn't work for a camp.
Mm-hmm.
And then certainly we imagined, hey, you have somewhat of a local celebrity status. It would make sense that some folks would be willing to pay you to sponsor their brand. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
But what I didn't ever imagine, and I would have imagined revenue sharing as a potential outcome of all of this. But I never imagined the idea that billionaires would create an LLC that is solely for the purpose of taking money from people to pay athletes, and then they would pay athletes to encourage people to take money or to donate money to pay athletes. And I feel dumb for not seeing that.
Yeah, it's the most direct line.
Like, how could I have missed that? Like, why would you not set up a shell of a business to perpetuate the thing that you want to perpetuate? But I don't know. Maybe there are certain rosters for which, as we look at the 3,600, right? Like, that's an insane number. Maybe if you think you're good enough to make it from Western to Michigan State as even a depth piece, that maybe the baseline for getting paid at Michigan State as a depth piece is so much higher than it is at Western that it makes sense that you would leave. I don't know. And that's not, and I'm picking Western. It, like, not that anyone's going to come for us on it, but like, yeah. I'd be interested in that 3,600 breakdown, what the breakdown is among conferences, right? Like, are we talking G5, G6, G6, I guess? Like, where are most of these transfers coming from? How many return back home? How many don't find a home? Someone needs to do some quality statistical reporting on this. So,
yep. I mean, it would be hard to do, but it does seem worthwhile.
Yeah.
Speaking of people that should enter the transfer portal to the rest of life, Hunter Dickinson is returning to Kansas, if you can believe it.
I truly didn't know that eligibility left.
Like, it seems like he's entering year 9. Speaking of people that probably shouldn't still be in the college game, Maryland has hired Brian Ferentz from Iowa.
My lord.
As an offensive analyst.
Is the analyst, let's not do whatever Brian Ferentz recommends that we do.
It is offensive, this decision, but I don't know. What about
you bring him in
offense.
as a red hat, but the red hat is really like whatever Brian calls.
It's a no.
Is we are not running that.
Speaking of running, Reggie Bush is getting his Heisman back. Is this something that we really need to discuss?
Well, I just thought you had your pearls handy, so.
Well, I don't know if I want to clutch them at this point. I mean,
all right. Well, can we go to the topic that we got 2 other interesting topics to talk about then? The Department of Education is proposing that there are changes to what happens to a player when they are accused of a Title IX violation, which generally speaking means sexual harassment, sexual assault. Not exclusively, but that's oftentimes where we see it in the context of student athletes. And the rule change is that they are no longer allowed to be suspended.
Right.
Until the completion of the Title IX investigation. I'll just say, as a sort of teeing up the conversation, on the one hand, you, in the remainder of your life, though it certainly can find its way to your job, but that, in our judicial system, the state, in this case, the university is the state, bears the burden of proof, and you are innocent until proven guilty. On the other hand, there is an overwhelming amount of evidence that we should believe victims of sexual assault and sexual violence and sexual harassment, that they were indeed assaulted, violated, and harassed. And so it's an interesting conundrum.
It's also interesting because
educate me on this, guys, but most of what we understand now about Title IX and the requirements from universities around this come from the Obama administration. And now you have a change in Title IX with the current administration that was part of the Obama administration. That's Obama administration part 2 Electric Boogaloo. So like it's very strange. We've spent a lot of time, you know, seeking our, you know, our valor of like talking about how great Title IX is, and now boy, we have egg on our face.
No, I don't think so. I think we can walk and chew gum on this. I think you can walk and chew gum. I think you can say you can do both things. On the one hand, we believe in due process. We believe in due process.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes.
So that's it. We believe in due process. That's the one hand. And we believe survivors. We believe them. We believe women when they say they've been raped. We believe in due process. We believe women when they say they've been raped. Or any sort of sexual violence that they've survived. We believe them. So let's let the process go through. And not only will these individuals, when convicted, be off the team, they'll also be in jail. So to my thinking,
just off the university, Title IX is a
Title IX would not apply.
Different burden of proof.
But I'm just saying, like, processes there, because what we've seen is too often, the Title IX process doesn't even happen, and then the criminal process has completed, and there's some, there's inconsistencies here. Both processes, the criminal process, Title IX process, should be strengthened. I've never been comfortable with this idea that simply because an allegation is waged, your life stops. At the same time, I don't think that allegations get made. I don't think that they're phony. I don't think that happens. It's probably happened once. It's happened at least once, but it doesn't. This is not something that happens consistently. So it's a red herring. It's a lie to think that this is what we're guarding against. And still, we have due process for a reason. So I don't think that the one undercuts the other. And frankly, I don't know. If you're going to suspend them from the team, they should be suspended from the university. If they can't play football or basketball, they really should be off the campus entirely, in a safe house or with a relative, or I don't know where the fuck, in a van down by the river. They shouldn't be on campus. So to my thinking, if you're going to be consistent,
that's a good point.
You've got to go all the way, because what are we saying? Oh, they can't play their sport anymore. Oh, thank God I had tickets to that game and I was going to be so assaulted by seeing them there. Like, come on. Come on. So I think we've got to be consistent on this. And I think this is a little bit toward consistency. I hope that we have the maturity that we can hold both truths at the same time. And whatever that means, whatever is required on universities and in the criminal justice system to empower women to speak up, to support women with advocates through the process, to encouraging women after they've survived a sexual experience of sexual violence, that they go to a hospital, that they have a rape kit or other evidentiary procedure performed, that they do it and they feel supported, that they have a support system, that they have a friend, that they've got education, they know the resources are there, that a ride is provided, that they get time off of class, like all of those things. If we can put all of those things into place too, to facilitate the criminal justice system in this, that should go without saying. Those things should already be done. How do we facilitate that as part of the Title IX process as well? To protect survivors and equip them with everything they need to do, right? Well, we can also say, and we're gonna protect due process.
Okay, so I appreciate that. I guess this probably doesn't affect cases where there is actual law enforcement involved, and there is an arrest and there are charges.
Different.
Although if you look at Illinois, maybe you're still not allowed to kick them off the team or suspend them from the team in those cases.
Well, but teams can have rules around the justice system, right? If you are arrested, then things can happen, because now we're talking about reputation. It's the same clause we used, by the way, to get rid of Mel Tucker. I mean, some of these clauses, I would assume, would allow programs, and this is independent of Title IX. You're not actually waging a Title IX complaint here. You're actually saying, no. Title IX is over here. We're actually dealing with a criminal justice complaint. The subject was arrested and has been charged, and therefore is no longer on the team. I mean, that seems separate.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be interested to see, to that point, Plum, where a lot of these contracts go. You know, this is an aside, but like if you go to revenue sharing, like what do buyout clauses look like? But in this particular case, do you start seeing more reputational harm clauses inserted around NIL?
Yeah,
but I think there is almost certainly, and I've not looked at the proposed rule from the DOE, but there's a former player that weirdly has made it into MSU lore for one game that he played, who was kicked off the team.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to assume, and I hope, that there is a carve out to the DOE rule that if your accuser is a staff member or volunteer on your own team, then under Title IX for the accommodations, that you're gone. Like someone who's alleging being sexually assaulted shouldn't have to show up to work every day with someone who is accused of sexual assault.
Yeah.
In the same way that if they were in the same class, there would be a separating that happens.
Yeah.
Right. But either way, this is I think, in fairness, this is a consequential shift in the way that we talk about Title IX. It is worth, I think, mentioning and repeating that there is a lower burden of proof under Title IX, a substantially lower burden of proof.
Yep.
And so we should care in this country deeply about the rights of the accused. Again, I want to tread lightly here because we also have a long sordid history of not caring about the voices of people who said that they were assaulted.
Correct. It's true.
So,
but to your point,
there is a tension. There's a tension.
Oh no, but of course there's a tension. But to your point, if the burden of evidence is so low in on Title IX, then one should expect that the majority of these cases will resolve in favor of
MSU doesn't have a great track record.
I'm not addressing with MSU. I mean, but I'm just saying, because I don't know. I mean, I trust you.
If you were setting rules in a vacuum, right?
Yes.
Of like, yes. If
Much lower bar. One should expect that a majority of these cases, if taken into this conduct hearing and such, would find that with the preponderance or whatever the evidentiary standard is,
preponderance, yeah.
That in fact, I mean, that was the preponderance of the evidence is what we used in all of our student faculty judiciary stuff. And in fact, over half of the cases that we heard in the student faculty judiciary at Michigan State we found the respondents responsible.
Yeah.
So in those cases, there you go. I mean, but you know, and I know it takes a long time. There is a tension. It's not an easy solution. And listen, or be consistent. And I'll go with this. By the way, I don't have a dog in this fight. I'll go with this. Kick them all out of the university. Anytime there's an allegation, then kick them out of the university. But you got to be consistent. That to me is consistent.
I have another wrinkle to this that I thought about bringing up before, but maybe it works more now. Terrence Shannon, right? Part of why Illinois was not allowed to fully suspend him is that it impacted his ability to profit off of his name, image, and likeness as part of the team. If I'm remembering correctly, that was part of the standard. And I think that might work for someone like Terrence Shannon, who's one of the better players in the Big Ten, who probably actually profits from his name, image, and likeness in the like actual sense of name, image, and likeness, participating in, autograph signings and that kind of stuff. But what about the guys that get paid by an NIL collective to be part of the team, but really do not have a market value on their own merits of name, image, and likeness. Their value is contributing to the university winning football, but their own market value for NIL is not existent or very low. Like, no one's asking them to, they're not working with University Wiener or whatever it is, whatever you want to say. They don't have their burger at Hopcat. I guess wouldn't then the university should have the right then to suspend them? It's not impacting meaningfully their ability to make a living. They're making a living by virtue of being at the university and playing football.
Well, I mean, I think we can use Terrence Shannon as a potential archetype, but like, let's be clear, Terrence Shannon was accused of an actual crime by a prosecutor in a different state. A warrant was issued for his arrest.
Right.
So, like, that's very different than a Title IX proceeding. A prosecutor decided that there was sufficient evidence to achieve a beyond reasonable doubt conviction. And I say that prosecutors are full of shit. They overcharge, but like, in theory, you know, we're meeting a very different evidentiary standard than a Title IX allegation. But let's assume, for the sake of argument, that a potential injunction could be placed by a judge. I don't know, Kevin. I think you raise a good question, and here's actually the part that makes it challenging for me. And it's something we talked a little bit last week about, but it's seemingly off topic. Is what is the value of athletics?
Mm-hmm.
And for kids who are on the walk-on or who are walk-ons or the practice squad, like, for whom there is not really meaningful name, image, and likeness, I think we are doing a disservice if we pretend that there's not still value for participating in a Big Ten schools program. Like, there are things that you get and are taught, right? Like, there's value derived to the individual, but you are not being paid out necessarily in the same way. But I don't know that there's, like, can you not go to IM West if you're accused of a Title IX violation?
Well, I mean, I think that has been an issue before. I would also ask you the question,
I'm genuinely asking, if you're not a student athlete,
I think you're supposed
what are your other privileges that are suspended?
I think you're definitely supposed to do whatever you can to avoid the other party.
Why would you then put someone 25 hours a week on the field, plus all the hours that they're obligated to go see their tutor in a building that the public can't access?
Well, then that asks the next question. We valued, I think, substantially from being in the student section and the camaraderie of that and all of that stuff. What if your accuser's on the field? Do you not? It seems that you have the right to go to games and not see them, score a touchdown and get lifted up on shoulders and applauded by the entire stadium. I mean, I think there's an argument to be made there as well.
Sure.
And that's, I think, the argument that has sort of pervaded for the last several years, but that seems to be changing.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's really tough on this is that it seems so dismissive. We have a long history of not believing women, and like, you can't underscore that enough. But in theory, and this cuts against the experience of Black people in the United States, but like, in theory, we have a long history of a judicial system and believing in due process, and that due process values innocent until proven guilty. And again, that is not the lived experience of a great number of Americans. But just because you were shitty at something before, I guess, doesn't mean that you should be shitty at something in the present.
That's it. That's it.
And so I don't know. I'm with you, Kevin. Like, I find it inherently uncomfortable that there are people who are probably credibly accused of sexual assault who are on the football team right now, and there's nothing that's happening. In fact, we know that from the state news reporting.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's gross. I don't like that. I wish they were not on my football team.
Yeah.
And while we're at it, I have questions about why there seems to be a frequency to this. Like, a organization as well resourced as Michigan State football should be doing a lot more in this space. But
they should bring in a third party to talk to the team about that. You know,
Jesus Christ, let's move on. All right.
Oh no.
Jonathan Smith, get on the phone, FaceTime if you feel so inclined.
There's got to be resources out there.
No.
All right, let's talk very briefly about House v. NCAA. If you don't know, this is maybe the most consequential case that's moving through the courts right now.
And we will not spend the same amount of time on it that we should spend on the
we will
last
not.
one.
But the antitrust case is alleging up to $4 billion with a B dollars in damages against the NCAA, and that threat is very real. The NCAA is facing multiple $billion+ instances of litigation, and it is an existential threat to the existence of the NCAA. This particular case alleges that the name, image, and likeness rules in place, even in place now, are a sort of cabal that is prohibiting student athletes from fully realizing their name, image, and likeness profit opportunities. And you're like, what are you talking about? Name, image, and likeness is unlimited. Well, do you watch TV and see someone's name, image, and likeness on it performing sports? That is the thrust of the case. Now, there's more nuance to it than that, but the NCAA has, and its member institutions have colluded to create TV contracts that prohibit student athletes from being compensated for their appearance on TV. And to be very clear, in fairness to student athletes, that in almost all other instances where you appear on TV, you're compensated for that, or you've signed something saying, I don't want to be, and I'm not interested in being compensated for it because I'm getting something else. In fact, you are literally getting something else for it. Perhaps that it doesn't matter, no one cares. But you're being paid in some way.
I will also point out,
be literally being on TV.
To some student athletes, that the offensiveness of their play, I will be suing them for that, for the damages that it's done to me.
Well, surely you remember, what was the kicker under John L. Smith? Because
John Goss. Talking about John Goss right now. The idea that John Goss should get paid anything to be on TV to miss those free throws.
The threats that Plum made, folks, if you think this is a shtick, I assure you, 19-year-old Alex Plum.
I'm nothing if not consistent. That is what I want folks to take away from this.
Vitriol doesn't even capture the things you... you did whole performances of how the professor should treat him in class.
Yeah. I think there was an effigy at one point of John Goss that was burned. Or
the Wells Hall, inexplicably, the fire alarm went off and a body was thrown out from the third floor made of corn husks. But anyway, so this $4 billion lawsuit over name, image, and likeness is in settlement negotiations, reportedly anyway. And what's important is that these settlement negotiations are creating a revenue sharing model. Like, we are close, folks, to a drastic departure from the model that we've experienced for much of our lives and even the last few years. So reportedly, it will cap the revenue share at the highest tier of college athletics, presumably with which MSU fits into, at $20 million annually. to share with student athletes. Interestingly, this aligns with some moves that happened recently at Texas A&M. For those who missed it, and it might have slipped under the radar, Texas A&M laid off a ton of staff from their athletic department, citing, quote, a new expense category emerging. This is, and in case you're like, $4 billion to the NCAA, who cares? Do you know who pays that $4 billion? The schools.
Universities.
Like, yeah, this is the House v. NCAA, for anyone who's not been paying attention, is easily the largest, truly existential threat to the NCAA. Like, does the NCAA exist or not? And so it's a case to keep your eye on, and the settlement, it looks like, because it's not just enough to say that, oh, we did bads in the past. For the antitrust case, they need to make sure that they are no longer violating in the future. Otherwise, this persists as a year-over-year problem for them. Okay. Should we do Twitter questions?
Yeah. First one, Mike Jones. We aren't ever getting a 5, are we?
No.
The reporting from friend of the pod, Graham Couch, and others is that no, we are not getting a 5. It looks like
A 5.
He had another one. We'll come back to Mike Jones.
Oh,
next up from G Money Stew, Plum. After seeing Smith's cryptic Twitter post, I was wondering if you could introduce any type of new tradition to a Spartan program. What would it be?
getting a 5 out of the portal every year.
Every year.
Every fucking year.
That's the whole point of having the Tom Izzo football building, right?
That's
Is
exactly
that the football
it.
team can make him get a 5.
That's right.
Also, G Money Stu, welcome to the pod.
Next up from G Money Stew, Jonesy, is there a concern about the amount of portal entries on the football team, and even if they are depth pieces mostly? I think we largely covered that. It's going to depend on what comes back in.
Yes. Mike Jones, second question. My company had an event in Detroit for the draft. I'm a fringe NFL fan. I don't have a team. Mainly watch it for the gambling and fantasy football purposes. Walking around on Friday, NFL fans are a different level of weird. They aren't as weird as Michigan fans, but as a whole, fucking weird.
Yeah, they're like Ohio State fans.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State fans really closely resemble the NFL, in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, it's a reminder that if college football implodes or changes significantly, there's no home for me. Like, truly.
Greg, Elon Bloom, what is one piece of advice you would give Izzo that you firmly believe would help him to a second national championship?
You got to change the narrative with these dudes. They're getting paid now. You got to remind them of that much more often.
Get a 5.
Yep.
Get a 5.
Yeah. Next up from Karen, Keon Coleman. Discuss. You guys saw this, I presume, right? I think this is in reference to his, we'll call it the coat conference.
I don't think it's that, because we actually have a number of questions about Keon Coleman in the Twitter questions. So sure, let's keep it to the coat and the "can I eat these snacks" conversation that happened after the interview. I found this delightfully endearing in that, oh, my sweet, sweet idiot child, like, you're adorable and lovely and relatable, weirdly, despite, you're like the buying the Macy's coat on sale in the summer because, like,
it feels very like going to shopping with mom in the summer, back to school. It feels like that.
Like, that was a very relatable moment.
Mm-hmm. But also, he left us, and you know what? I'm not fully back on
questions about it. We'll get to that later. Next up, Spartan 18770. Rank the most likely to least likely. Plum. Harbaugh wins a Super Bowl in the next 4 years. Izzo plays zone defense 30% of the time. Jonathan Smith wins a Big Ten championship in the next 5 years. And D. Graham Couch admits there is a blue wall.
C is number 1, most likely. Jonathan Smith,
Yep.
Big Ten, next 5 years.
Will happen.
Followed by Graham Couch admitting to the blue wall. Third is Izzo in the defensive zone. And Harbaugh will never win a Super Bowl.
The chasm between A, B, and CD
Yes,
is
CD.
quite large.
Quite large. Yeah, fathoms. Good. Michael, Cedar Village Bagel asks, how optimistic should we be for the next 80-year NFL draft streak? We're on year 3 now.
I feel like I've been a wet blanket a lot of places lately, but not. I'm sorry, not. I don't
Why
know.
are you so mean?
Yeah, I know.
Why do you hate us?
All right, this is the first of a few more Keon Coleman questions. Follow up, please individually take a hard stance on Keon Coleman. Is he a Spartan dog for life, or is he simply a player who was here for a while but should go back to FSU for any events in the future?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Bye.
I'm leaning towards that. It's like 80-20 buy for me. Even if it was a bad year that he bailed on, like, I think he would have been drafted in right around the same area if he had stayed. And
Can I just say this?
I don't
You
care for the betrayal.
Rarely do you in life get to have your cake and eat it too. Okay? He got his cake. It was not here. It was in Tallahassee. Okay? That's where the cake was. He ate the cake there. There is no more cake. He was passing through. He is not a Spartan. I don't care that he played for us for a year. He left us to have better cake somewhere else. And if I were him, I'd have made the same damn decision with all of the contextual information that I have. I don't begrudge him. I'm not angry at him. I don't think of him as a lesser human, but I do not think of him as a Spartan, nor should anyone else, because he's not. Michael.
I think Keon Coleman can think of himself however he wants to think of himself. So if Keon Coleman thinks of himself as a Spartan, and this is the place that he relates to, and this is the place that he wants to come back to and call home, then by all means, Keon, I'm not stopping you. We have plenty of people who call Michigan State home who are not alums of Michigan State.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean that when I see him in the highlights that I won't think of him as something different.
Yes.
And I wouldn't claim him as a second round draft pick for MSU Spartans. That's for sure. So, happy to have him. I think I'm a little bit different than you both on that, but but you're not quite there, Keon.
Next up from Nate C, echoing my point, Keon fucking Coleman isn't a Spartan. He left. Get the fuck over it. I don't care what he thinks he is. You don't get to fucking leave, but still claim it. What's up, Spartan Nation? Really enjoyed my official visit. I'm proud to be SD4L. Stop simping these clowns. Not a question, Nate. Not a question there.
You just gotta put a question mark on there somewhere so we can end it with a sort of an up tone. Next
Stop
up, Thomas
simping these
Zambiasi. Greg, did the Spartan Stadium experience survey die with the last coaching regime? Oh, sorry, you don't know surveys. Plum, did the Spartan Stadium experience? Greg, what do you got?
I'm offended for him.
I think that was to do with the athletic department and around how much more money they can take out of your wallet. So I guarantee you that will be back. Not to worry. Next up from Thomas, Plum, is the sun being cold in East Lansing cosmic punishment for allowing the old Harrison QD, the old Bigby, and the old Conrad's locations to fall astray?
I mean, the old
all of
Bigby
these
are just gone. Like the old Bigby has been razed to the ground.
Big B.
I mean, we were there when it was still Beaners, which is very problematic. Very problematic, it turns out. But my God, it is.
If Carlos Mencia never existed,
we have a conversation about Carlos Mencia and whether he was the only person who ever said that.
Ever?
Yeah, I'm not aware of that ethnic slur under any other circumstances.
Except for Carlos Mencia?
Like, a whole company's entire branding was changed because of one D-list.
Move it. Change it up.
God, That guy shouldn't have even been on television. That's like one of the greatest like atrocities
comedy
that's ever happened.
Central made an error.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Thomas, yes, this is the cosmic punishment, and we deserve it. Next up, Plum's favorite Twitter questioner, Beth Amaro. And if we're saying that wrong, we still haven't been corrected. Kevin Grack, any update on the MSU Board of Trustees removal request? Also, is there any read yet on how the new MSU president is doing?
Well, let's do this in two parts. One, I would say you got to keep the heat up. You've still got to be the change that you want to see in the world on this. So, Beth, thank you for reminding all of us. Go ahead and write another email, another letter to someone else. If you want this to happen, you are going to have to make it happen. The governor, bless her heart, she's a Spartan, but she's more interested in going down to Detroit in her Lions and her buffs and her Lions varsity jacket. The second part of this, any read on how the new MSU president is doing? MSU had an encampment on campus.
Yes, thank you.
Unique distinction of not bringing snipers out.
Thank you.
Yep. And they, acknowledging the atrocities that are happening in Palestine, and asking for the university to divest of certain things. So they're not in the news. And that's because they've already packed up and decided they're going to, adjourn and come back to this in the fall. And I would say that the way that the president and the board, got to give credit where it's due, did a great job of addressing this and de-escalating this. While there's 100 kids at Indiana that can't come back to school next year, while there were snipers on the roof, while everything's happening in New York that's going on,
and Texas.
Yes, and Texas, exactly. Good for the students that were out there in the campments. You should be doing this kind of stuff at that age.
Yeah.
Or any age, honestly. But you should be doing this kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff that should be happening on college campuses. Not any of the, of course, listeners, I think we've earned this. Not any of the accusations of anti-Semitism, of which I have not heard any on MSU's campus related to these demonstrations. Of course, we would disavow that. But I think they did a great job not pressing the issue, allowing the encampments to hang. The president physically, Kevin G went and talked to them, and he had not in the headlines.
Posture of listening.
Mm-hmm.
He had a posture of listening. Show me. He did.
Yeah.
He went out there. The board was like, "Yeah, we're not going to fuck around with this. Just take it. Just be camp. I don't care."
Yeah.
And
truly, who cares?
Who cares? Just camp. I don't fucking care. We let his own camp. I mean, and I get it's not the same. I know it's not the same, but I'm just saying, just camp. You want to camp? If this is your entitlement to free expression, go ahead. We have a lot of natural area. If you want to put up some tents, that's great. But he went out there. He modeled a form of servant leadership because he had the humility to be present and listen. He didn't have to say a fucking thing. He just had to listen. And he didn't go to Congress. He didn't go perform as woke or not woke or anti-woke or any fucking other thing. He did the simplest thing he could. He went to work. He took his suit jacket off so he'd be more comfortable in the weather. And he fucking listened. My God. Simple.
It's almost as if it's not complicated.
Literally, it's how one human might in fact interface with another human who clearly had strong feelings about something, and they just showed human connection and listened.
Can we talk for a brief second, about fucking Reclaim MSU, though, please? Because I think we've not talked about them for a while.
It's been a
long while. I think this feels like the battle I'm willing to pick. That, holy shit, you all are broken. We're perfectly capable as three people who care deeply about this university of saying that our university turned in the largest of turd burgers ever in the history of universities at a time of deep moral failing and crisis, and then regularly turns in ordinary to severe turd burgers on the regular.
So true.
Like they suck. In almost any way that an administration can suck, they find a way to surprise you. But for you to call out that the Izzo campout happens and that police showed up around this encampment for a lack of permit. Holy shit. Shut up.
Deeply unserious.
Don't tweet.
Deeply unserious.
The touch grass thing is for you. Please go outside. The fact of the matter is that the institution that you tweet about so regularly, the difference between you and me is that I believe that institution is my friend. A wayward friend, oftentimes, but is my friend. One I care deeply about and want great things for. You seem incapable of actually wanting good things for your university.
Yeah.
Sign off, please.
They lost the thread a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I think we've not talked about them. I don't know that we've ever been.
Well, they're not relevant.
I mean, no, they're not.
That's
Like,
the
truly,
yeah.
Like they've reached a level of shut the fuck up. Anyway.
Yeah. Next up, Dan Hellpepper. For Kevin Greck, if Bill Beekman had gone on a bender after not getting Luke Fickle and woke up laying in my yard, then
This did happen, by the way.
Then I'd given him some. Then I'd given him some tap water and convinced him to hire Chris Creighton, the best to ever coach in Washtenaw County. Where would the MSU football team be now?
I don't know, but the grass would be painted asphalt gray. That would have at least happened by now.
I think this is a decent question, though.
Honestly, I don't understand why more programs don't look at Chris Creighton. Like, if you can take Eastern to bowl games, you're a hell of a football coach as far as I'm concerned. That is one of the least resourced programs in existence. And the fact that he was able to accomplish that a few times, I think you deserve another look. And it astonishes me that he's not on more lists. There's got to be something going on there. But at the same time, there were times where it looks like the guy that they did get instead of Luke Fickle was going to work out. And then he really didn't.
Or didn't.
And then he
really didn't.
Next up, the Kieski. Hoggard is gone. Whew.
Changing
Yes.
of the
Hoggard.
Bart Deux. Electric Boogaloo. Better question from Kieski. Plum, I don't give a shit about college football if it stays like this. Plum, you can't say same because you're on a podcast.
Mm-hmm. It's true. I'm struggling to find the joy I once found, and I am mourning it every day. And my old man being angry at the world shtick will get old very fast. So
I don't know. I'm angry too. I think you're fine. You're validated on that.
Kevin, predict when
fellow old man.
Yeah, that's right.
This isn't as much fun.
It's sad.
Yeah, it is definitely not. Imagine a different student experience where Drew Stanton transfers after 1 year
Right.
because someone gets in his ear about, like, you're quarterback. You shouldn't have been on that special teams play that broke your leg or whatever.
He
it was.
shouldn't have been.
Which is true. Which is legit.
Honestly, you know what? If there's anyone I would have supported transferring, it's Drew Stanton. If we're
This
being
podcast
really
might
honest.
not exist if that had happened. If Drew Stanton had left.
That's true. I think we would not interview really any athlete, but if there was someone that we could interview, it's him and only him.
Yep.
So, dear listener, I think we've asked this before, but if you know Drew Stanton or can get in touch with Drew Stanton,
Please.
Or if you're in his wine club.
Holy shit. I will schlep his wine club like it's an NF Tuck. Give me that wine club. All right. Plum, predict when Izzo retires.
27.
Correct?
Okay. 3 years?
Yeah.
I would say 4. I'm gonna go the over.
28.
I'm gonna
All right.
do prices right on you, Plum.
Got it.
All right. Next up, Joe Ashworth.
Michael?
He's 70. He's going to turn 70 this year.
Yeah.
Oh, this is tough.
The wild card in all of this is health scare. Like,
Yes.
he's getting to that age.
I think the wild card in all of this is, does he win a natty?
I'm not worried about that happening this year with no 5.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. But if he did, do you think he retires? Or
Yeah,
I do. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. He's all done.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
I could see that re-energizing the batteries. All right. Next up, Joe Ashworth. When do I get to start using these questions I've been saving for the off-season Twitter competition?
Ooh.
No, that's a good question. That's a very good question. You got first place this week for that question.
I had that question deliberately come after last year's first place winner, Keith Ski. Joe, probably in a couple weeks. We'll probably run it for 6 weeks again. So maybe after Mother's Day. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see.
Good.
We'll see where energy's at.
Get into
Kevin,
June at least.
can you please clarify? Does passion drive your transmission, or does passion drive your transmission?
Plum, you're the one who your clinic is tailored to. This feels more like for you.
I don't
Yeah.
even know what to do with this question.
It's also about the mission,
What's this
the
from?
transmission.
What is this from?
I don't get this reference either. Is this
Did it-
something we said last week?
I think maybe I said it last week. I can't remember.
It comes from the haiku. Or the
Mm.
limerick haiku that
Did
Beth
I do it?
created
Oh, Beth did it.
from ChatGPT.
Oh,
Remember?
that's,
Oh, yeah.
that's what it was. Thank you. Very good. I couldn't.
I'm
remember.
surprised you guys forgot this.
Yeah,
This
sorry,
is
Beth.
excellent work.
I have a memory of a goldfish.
I just remember how powerful our transmission was. That's all I recall.
Yeah.
Next up, from our good friend Carl, you do too much, bro. Is there a German compound noun for, quote, stubbornly refusing to address a major position of weakness? Maybe in a
Apocryphal
Apocryphal.
colonialism.
apocryphal. I never should have taken the question
That's
from
all
Carl.
right.
You do too much,
Yeah.
bro.
Plum,
I
is there
should
a
have
German
known better.
compound noun for, quote, stubbornly refusing to address a major position of weakness, end quote? Maybe an apocryphal colonialism a la, quote, the center position and sustained mediocrity are the same word in Mandarin, end
Oh my
quote.
God.
Trying to rationalize the lack of smoke around Portal 5s. Carl, you do too much, bro. But Plum,
I could have gotten everything past apocryphal. I just want that noted.
Nope, you couldn't have.
I could have even gotten colonialism. I'm familiar with
Plum-
colonialism. We see it every week on the podcast.
I'm sure there is. That's actually good.
I desperately needed to redeem myself. I needed a win.
That was a good one. I have to give you that one.
you speak German?
Yes. Yes, I speak German. There is no word like this, but I have great Schadenfreude for the Fingerspitzengefühl you had to evince to come up with such a question like this. So, sehr gut gemacht, Carl.
Do
It's
some
not
more.
what anyone-
It definitely doesn't sound like hate
I know.
the entire time.
JD_Terrorbear is next. First. Oh, no, this one's for me. Go ahead, someone else.
Okay,
All right.
it's off season now, and he's in the portal. So once again, for Plum, MFK, Hoggard, Max Christie, Rocket Watts,
What do those letters stand for?
Mary F. Kell.
F?
F.
Get freaky with.
Get freaky with. Freak with. Freak, marry, kill. Oh, wow. I'm really not liking this at all.
It's too bad you already
this
gave
is
away
really-
the winning question of the week.
I know. Well, this is the losing one because this is actually hard. On
Well, apparently with all
physical,
that MFKing.
on physical appeal only, and because of his earning potential, I'm marrying Max Christie. But it's going to be loveless. I want to be explicit about that.
This is a like a
Marriage built
Resentment
on
marriage, yes.
yes, years of resentment. Which some of the best marriages are like that. I will F Rocket Watts because I'm sure it is cuckoo bananas, and AJ Hoggard can go night night. So
Excellent work, JD. Next up from JD_Jerbear, which Amish built storage shed does Alex Plum record from, and how many bodies are buried underneath it?
Where is this light at?
Mood lighting.
Where's the light? Where's the light? What mood lighting are you talking about? I don't know what he means.
See, in the YouTube comments when they make fun of our backgrounds, like, come on, we give them enough. That was what was so offensive about Parents' Basement, is there's just so much to work with and to go with Parents' Basement.
I mean, come on. Just
Amish built shed.
hurtful. So what if I'm in my barely even started refinishing this 1928 Tudor? You just shut up, you mean guy.
How do you not have wall art, though?
It's over there. There's nothing.
You work
And how do you spend the amount that you've spent and you call it barely?
You try to, yeah, literally though. My God, that's the question. You try to hang shit on plaster. Oh,
it is impossible.
This room does have
it's not.
This room actually does have a picture rail, so I have zero.
Get the command strip hangers.
I don't use those. Those are racist. No, that's wrong.
Yes.
Next up, the search for Kevin Gregg.
Picture rail. My God.
A host on our podcast.
Who doesn't
name
like seeing the
rhymes with
cables that you can hang yourself from? So,
a host on our podcast, Kevin,
Troubling.
whose name rhymes with Mutt Toy, has some irrational takes on Jonathan Smith. What do you do during intrapod disputes? Does Gretch threaten to eat the other hosts? Does Plum yell into your ear via a tin can until they see his way? I guess this was for you, Michael.
Yeah, we just ignore Michael until he comes around.
Much like this question.
Yeah. It's Jonesy is like a child or a dog. Like, there's nothing worse that you can do than just ignore him. And he'll just break down immediately.
He always comes running back sniffing at my crotch, and that's just really what it's all about.
So that's why we take turns ignoring him to get that treatment. And that's how it's done. I'm excited to hear that the search is apparently back. I have not.
What are we searching for?
A 5, apparently.
No, I think this is just Zanjo. I don't know what Mutt Toy is, because I think it's just Zanjo saying that Jonathan Smith.
Isn't it Butt Boy? Isn't
Butt Boy?
Yeah,
there it is. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I want to say, as the only podcast host, listener, guest, regular attendee of this, I was the only one not invited onto that podcast, and I remember that it was Butt Boy.
I wasn't invited.
Okay. Well,
ever.
Yeah,
not
you
even
you
half
were
invited.
All right.
Next up from the Upper Deck Jerk Guy, how can Peter Piper pick pickled peppers? See how well I did that? Don't they have picked before they're? Don't they have to be picked before they're pickled? It's a good question. People are asking.
People want to know.
Also from the Upper Deck Jerk Guy, can you come up with a better name than the transfer portal? The problem with the name the transfer portal is it's such a letdown. What it actually is.
Yeah.
Purgatory.
Yeah.
Football purgatory is probably
also
what it
a place
should be
where you
called.
lose transfer credits.
Place that you lose transfer credits is a way better name.
That's a lot better name. Yeah. Good job.
Yeah.
It's got some sex appeal. Thank you.
Yeah, he really nailed that one. And finally, from the Upper Deck Jerk Guy, what's the worst purchase you ever made?
God, I don't know. I like laugh like that because there's so many. So
sometimes it feels like
house,
my 100-year-old house
is
the worst purchase I've ever made.
High on the list. The 2018 Buick Regal I bought, it was a 2012 Buick Regal in 2015. That was a mistake.
That's interesting because I was going to say my old Aurora also on that list, which is basically a Buick Regal.
It literally is the same car. It might as well be the same car.
So you and I are making really similar huge mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have to pay to license MGMT for your wedding?
Next up, and that would not have been a mistake, Mr. Neurotic Pants. Michael, is next year's defense toast? Is all the talent gone or unstable? Talk me down from the nervous shits.
Sounds awful.
I'm gonna recommend you wholly medicate in both in every way that you can on the shits. But No, it's not toast, but it's not necessarily going to be good. I will say this: the edge rushers who are gone were not starters. The place that you need to be worried is defensive tackle. And under the Rossi scheme, it doesn't seem like I'm not that worried. We just got a good transfer. We had a Georgia Tech transfer before that who are probably near replacement level for the players we lost. So I just injuries are the place that you need to be worried right now.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the place, and so the concern is we read a bunch of names that we lost today. We've not read as many names that we're getting back, so that's the place to be worried.
All right. Next up from Mr. Erotic Pants, Plum, pretend to be Alan Haller. Jonesy, pretend to be Tom Izzo. Plum, what do you want to say to Jonesy? More seriously, what should Haller say to him?
Tom,
Notice I don't have a role in this.
Tom,
You read the question.
I love you, Tom. I love you. I'm attracted to you physically, emotionally, mentally, sexually, mostly sexually. We're unnaming the football building. If you cannot get a 5, if you cannot get a 5 in the next 10 minutes, it's gonna be the Susie Orman football building.
Susie?
Yeah, Suze.
You fired Susie.
Well, no, she never worked here because she's a lesbian that was on CNBC, but same difference.
No. Not that Susie, the next Susie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We've had several Susies.
Tom, I don't make the rules. I just enforce them. 5, or your name's off the fucking building.
When you were 5 years old, I was coaching this team. And it's interesting we talk about 5 years old because a position I don't need, because I have 2 3-star trash recruits at the 5. I don't need a 5. So, Alan, kindly, you can either shut the fuck up or you can go back to working for the police department from whence you came. And maybe, maybe you'll be rehired because all we can do is hire internally here.
That does actually sound like how that conversation
It actually would
go
that way.
Finally, from Mr. Erotic Pants, more of a request, I think. Way too early schedule question. Can you guys have the annual meetup during the Prairie View game? It's an affordable enough game for everyone, and even if MSU's entire team drinks a barrel of ketamine the night before, they should be able to win that game decisively. It seems like a good opportunity for a meetup.
If the people are saying
what week is that?
It's the September 14th, I think.
Yeah, this is going to depend on Jonesy's calendar.
All about Jonesy. This is how it is, guys. Now you see behind the curtain. Kevin and I don't have any fucking control in this.
I'm taking Blake to Disney World for the first time on September 29th.
It's not that weekend. It is before that.
No, but so I don't know if you're familiar with how much Disney World costs.
You have a car. You have a 2021 El Camino. Get your ass here.
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with how disappointed Mr. Erotic Pants would be if he didn't get to see you at that game.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Prairie View it is.
Prairie View it is, and Kevin's pull-out couch will be waiting for you. Next up.
No. It'll be waiting for you.
Oh, yes. He just hit you with the I'm rubber, you're glue.
Really getting ready for Disney World, this one. All right.
I hate you both, including man in the fucking La Quinta Hotel right now of Salt Lake City.
The La Quinta Suites. All right, Beppe Plum, Beppe. For Kevin, my neighbor is definitely in some hush-hush service. He vanishes for months at a time and starts to tell me about things he does, then says, well, it's not interesting, and gets all shifty. He will only talk outside if there is no phone. It would be cool if I'm the target.
Yes, it would be cool.
Yeah, cosign.
100%.
Yeah.
Hush service.
Hush service for sure.
At play here. No doubt about it.
Good
Definitely couldn't be anything else.
Good luck, and we're rooting for you.
Beppe Plum's going to get pulled in as the recruit, in this.
Yeah.
And finally, from Beppe Plum, would you rather do something good and be praised for a month, or do something great then die but be posthumously celebrated? See, I got posthumously for eternity. I'll praise the Panthers when they realize who they have on the team. Penis faces. Yeah, I said it. Surprise rant of the week.
Is that because
the words that you're
who did
willing
they take?
to read
Is this
and
where
not
JJ
read?
went? Is that why this is it?
No, it's all Horst.
It's Horst. Oh, it's Horst. Sorry.
I gotta say, there's an appeal to the posthumous, the legendary status.
Well,
Burnout versus Fade Away.
Huh?
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
you'll be celebrated for your 401k. Don't worry, buddy. Next up, Mamapaleaf.
Be remembered by my next in kin.
It's really good.
Niece and nephew beneficiary. Next up, Mamapaleaf. Does it still count as an MSU draft pick if it's Keon Coleman, and/or are you simply giddy with excitement for a Samac pick because it gives MSU some draft cred? Or Jesus, Mamapaleaf. Or do you just don't? What? Do you just
Care
don't
about the hoopla? He doesn't know the word
just
hoopla.
don't care. No. It's the do you just don't care.
Yeah,
Can you read
the word
do
hoopla?
you just don't care?
Hoopla was scary to him. You couldn't say it.
Do you
it's the middle
just?
one. It's the middle one. We love
It's the middle
Samac.
one. We love Samac.
And finally, from Mamapaleaf, Plum, does Casey's 2023 statement referring to his college football plans qualify Orchard Park as south or south of Buffalo? I'm gonna do my 2-year sentence
Keon
up
Coleman.
there.
Does Keon Coleman's
Yeah.
2023
I
statement?
know that, but what is
Right.
Orchard
And
Park?
I'm gonna do my 2-year sentence up there, and I'm gonna come back down south for my last year to tear that explicative up. I belong down south.
I don't know what Orchard Park is in this. I don't know what it is.
I guess he's gonna live in Orchard Park.
I don't know, Mamapaleaf.
I don't know, Susan. I don't.
Can someone else send us a question real quick that we don't have to end on this?
Oh, Susan, I don't know
No,
what
I think
it
that this is where we
is.
should end because you know what? the portal is a confusing time, but I'm thankful for Mamapaleaf for providing us perspective that
You know
there
why?
are things
Well,
more confusing than the fucking portal.
And let's say this: she's consistent, and there is something about consistency. And the other thing I can say about her that I can't say about Keon Coleman, she's a Spartan.
Ooh.
Alex Plum. Go green.
Go eight.